Hello everybody, Corey here with CDS Automotive. Today, as you can see, we're back on the whiteboard. I just wanted to make a quick video in reference to a question or something that I hear often. I often hear that I'll get a phone call and somebody says, well, I've had diagnostic work done or a diagnostic done, and really what they're referring to is they've been to typically a parts house that has done a code scan on whatever system that they're having typically a light on or a concern with. So when you go to a parts house and they scan your vehicle, typically they're not doing a complete vehicle scan. They're only doing typically the powertrain system. So that would be the engine control module and or the trans control module if they're separate, or the powertrain control module if they're integrated together. And what they do is then they plug in a code. This is just a wheel speed sensor code, the C0035, just used for an example. And what they do is they put that in, and then what that goes into is a database. And it pulls up a list from most confirmed fixes for that code to the least confirmed fixes for that code. So typically you'll see, like at the top there, you'll see a wheel speed sensor, 154 hits that a wheel speed sensor fixed that code. And then it just works down. So then you'll see a wheel hub assembly, ABS module, and so on and so forth. The problem with this is, there's no diagnostic work being done there whatsoever. So I just wanted to clear that up first and foremost. They are simply scanning a specific module, pulling a code, putting it into a database, and printing you out a list and saying, here, this is the most confirmed, this particular component has the most confirmed fixes for that code. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it applies to your application. That's crucial to know the difference, because if you just start putting parts on, and typically you would then be purchasing parts from them or an online source or wherever. I don't typically see these vehicles come in with genuine OE parts on, typically due to cost and maybe availability. This is a very deep rabbit hole to go down, and I'm going to show you why you don't want to go down this rabbit hole. So moving on over, okay, so remember we had a wheel speed sensor code there, and our wheel speed sensor is the most confirmed, highest count for probability according to that to fix our issue. Well, if you look at wheel speed sensor costs, you see the front up top is about $94. So two of those, you're just shy of $200. Wheel speed sensors for the rear, you're almost $112. So you're almost $224. Vehicle speed sensor, because that's on our list too, $166, with a total of parts being $576.84. Now note, we didn't even put a module in it, we didn't put a wiring harness in it, we didn't put an alternator on it, we didn't do any of those things. So you're at $576.84 for parts, plus whatever the labor is. If you're doing it yourself, what's your time worth? If you're having a repair facility that would even do something like this, which is not uncommon, what's their labor to put all those parts in, and what happens when it doesn't fix it? And guys, I make this video because I recently had a conversation with someone on the phone in regards to this, and yes, many sensors were replaced. A lot of time was invested, a lot of parts put on the vehicle, and the issue is not resolved. So this really happens. I'm not just pulling this out of thin air. This is very common. So, and the other thing that you're not going to get at the parts house, that you're going to get to pay a professional repair facility to actually pinpoint the root cause. That's important to note, the root cause. So if there's a failed component, that component does not fail again, is they're not getting factory side service information, technical service bulletins, which I'll explain in a second. There's no verification that the issue is resolved, whether that be through dynamic testing, scan data, static testing, whatever it may be. Okay, so with testing, we verify the concern. We do dynamic testing, and this is just kind of common touch points. There's a lot that goes into each one of these, but I just wanted to hit the high points. So the concern gets verified. Typically, a test plan is developed, referring to service information, then a dynamic test, pinpoint testing, and then whatever it is to correct said concern. I think it's important to note technical service bulletins, because a lot of times the manufacturer will see a common failure and they will develop a technical service bulletin if it's not like an open recall or a safety concern. They will develop a technical service bulletin to correct said either symptom or the DTC, which is the diagnostic trouble code, etc. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just, wheel speed sensors in this case, and hub assemblies and modules. And, I've had it to where wheel speed sensors get put into loose wheel bearings, so they spent $100, $150, whatever, put a sensor in. Well, it still cuts in and out, and the bearing's loose, so the air gap is not maintained, which naturally would set a code which will turn on the light. So typically the cost for testing, this is a little generic. This isn't specific to every single case. I want to be very clear on that. If it's a hard fault, recreatable, whatever the case may be, generally for the evaluation, you're looking at $100 to $200. And then it's pinpointed. That once the root cause has been determined, that an accurate estimate can be presented to you of what the repair is going to be, and it's going to be done, and it's going to be done correctly. And the shops that are doing this, they're not typically running I'm just going to say bottom of the barrel parts, because there is quality levels to parts. And that's a whole nother conversation, but I don't know. I'd rather have $200 into an evaluation and know that what they say is incorrect or failed or wrong or whatever, that is the actual case, versus going to the parts house, getting a code scan, getting a list, and then trying to budget how to get every single component on that list. I mean, if you're doing this, you're gambling. And if you like to gamble, hey, by all means. However, I will tell you that a lot of these parts houses that do this, and I'm not cutting down any single parts house at all. They're there to sell parts. They're not there to troubleshoot issues. They're simply there to sell parts. Just remember that. But there's a lot to be desired when you're buying parts from certain parts houses. The quality's not there. The fit and function's not there. And when you start talking sensors, this is incredibly important, because you can, A, not fix your original concern, which is very common, and B, you can actually induce problems. So, you're, in this instance, in our example, we're $576.84. We'll say our labor's pushing $400. So, I mean, you're $1,000, and what if it doesn't fix it? Whereas perhaps we're $100 to $200 for the evaluation. We'll meet in the middle and say $150. It ends up being wiring. So you're $150, and I don't know, the wiring repair is half hour or even an hour. So say you're another $150. I mean, you're only $300. and you're done. It's corrected, it's fixed, it's verified, there's warranty on it, away you go. So guys, I wanted to hammer this point home. Just be mindful where you get your information from. If you're doing repairs yourself, which is becoming harder and harder to do, be mindful where you're getting your parts from and where you're getting. If you're getting your information from the parts house and you're given that list and they say, oh, by the way, we have all these parts in stock. Well, yeah, think about it. They're a parts house. They're there to provide parts. So you don't go to the doctor and they check your blood pressure and see that your blood pressure is either high or low and immediately say, well, you've got congestive heart failure. Like, that's a pretty far jump, but it's the same thing in the automotive world. If you look at it, if we pull a code and oh, it's that, and then we equate to that and it's not fixed. So be mindful where you get your information. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.